The quality of life of 4 million people living in 4 regions of Kazakhstan depends on the water level in Lake Balkhash, getting 80% of its water from the Ile River. In turn, up to 70% of the Ile River discharge comes from China. Along the Almaty-Korgos transboundary highway, we are moving towards the Dobyn Pier, where the Ile crosses the China-Kazakhstan border. Fields are stretching along both sides of the road. Farming and cattle breeding, and thus our country's food security, depend on water that we get from our rivers. The largest of them in southeastern Kazakhstan is the Ile.
80%
of Lake Balkhash's water comes from the Ile River, and the remaining 20% comes from the rivers flowing down from the northern Tian Shan and Zhetisu Alatau mountains. Driving along the road, we saw that unfortunately not all of them reach the Ile. Rivers like the Issyk and Shelek are completely withdrawn to cover the water needs of irrigated agriculture and the metropolis. The Ile's total length is about 1,400 kilometers, including 850 inside Almaty region. In 1969, the dam divided the river into upper and lower segments and formed the Kapshagai Reservoir in its midsection. The last time we rafted along the Ile about 2 years ago. This time we decided to follow the same route to understand what has happened to the river during this period. That is, with its water level and the lakes and floodplain woods along its banks. Not to mention the local animal world, of course. This is where we will have our base camp. From here, Uncle Vitya will take us on a hike and then meet us below. Our watercraft, an old but still good kayak. It's been loyally serving us for many years. Baljan, this here is the most important kayak part. We are lucky with the weather, no wind and warm. Park Ranger Service. Is that Almol? Yes. Are you the one monitoring the river? Yes, our segment is from Kunduzde down to the Sharin mouth. How many kilometers is that? 96. We wanted to kayak down your section of the river. Let's have some tea and talk it over. Sporting and amateur fishing is allowed here. How much for the permit? 2,500. Water users have to win a tender to secure fishing zones, giving them the right to engage in fishing or sell vouchers to amateur fishermen. I have 2 questions for you. About the trash along the river shores and about fires. Are you authorized to combat these 2 types of lawbreakers? We have been holding the Clean Water Body action, that is, huntsmen and we are going to all fishing camps with garbage bags, collect their trash and take it to the city. During high water, I often notice bottles flowing down the river, some with Chinese writing on them.
Пластмассовые бутылки, надпись китайскими надписями.
Construction debris, foam, etc.
Всплывут пенопласты.
Recently, we took part in the clean water body action at the Kapshagai Reservoir. Amateur fishermen, jointly with the prosecutor's office and state inspectors, collected Chinese-made fishing nets at the reservoir's bottom. Such nets are banned at all Kazakhstan's reservoirs, but they still import and sell them. Thank you so much for participating in the joint action. Conservationists have long proposed to add a clause on the liability for sanitary condition and fire safety to the contracts on leasing water body bank sections. The inspection and other law enforcement agencies are currently working on the legal amendments to enforce liability for the presence of garbage in leased land plots and secure the right of leaseholders to punish these littering. In just 1 year, they took out 150 kilometers of illegal fishing nets out of the Kapshagai Reservoir. Meanwhile, we are preparing for the campaign. Only me and Elon Musk know how to assemble this kayak. Tomorrow is the day. Will it be scary? Come on! On the kayak? I have been kayaking since I was 10 and had been a member of Kazakhstan's national team for 6 years. I am the master of sports and have kayaked a lot. Believe me, you just ride the boat gliding over the water. It's breathtaking. I will teach you some tricks tonight so that tomorrow you enjoy it. You'll never forget it. This time we plan to kayak from the state border down to the Kapshagai Reservoir. Over the past 3 years, a lot has changed in the world, of course. Today, nobody doubts the global scale of the drought challenge that our civilization faces, be it in North America or Europe. In the latter, this year, 2022, was considered the driest in the last 500 years. Rowing well, you can accelerate your kayak up to 12 kilometers per hour. In the sports mode, you can kayak up to 80 kilometers downstream in 1 day. Yet, this time, sporting feats are not among our priorities. We are kayaking slowly, filming everything we see around. Baljan, you can see wild boars and roe deer only early in the morning. Like now, at dawn. We have not encountered any wild boars, but plenty of ducks and herons. What is that? Ataikas or shelducks. When we rafted along the Ile 3 years ago, the water level was higher. The guys said that just 2 weeks ago the level rose by 1 meter. This is due to the end of the irrigation season. The Ile's discharge fluctuates depending on economic needs. 40 years ago, the population of the Xinjiang Uyghur region in the Ile River Valley was about 1 million. 10 years ago, it was already 17 million, and now it is 26.5 million. Accordingly, the irrigated agriculture and industrial water consumption have been growing as well. If we had come a week earlier, we would have seen a different picture. Thus, contrary to the proverb saying that it's better to see once than hear something, in case of hydrology, one should rely not on eyewitnessing something, but on systemic and long-term target research.
наших зрителей.
Sayat Kurbanbayevich, our viewers as well as the residents of Almaty region, and I'm sure of the entire Kazakhstan want to know whether we should start sounding the alarm about Balkhash, or is it still not so scary?
Пока еще все не так страшно.
Ал Балхашқа келетін болсақ, Балхаштың
As of today, we cannot definitely say that Balkhash is repeating the fate of the Aral Sea, but with the current supply and uneconomical water allocation, in the future the lake may face severe problems.
суды басқаратын болсақ, ол қауіп өте үлкен.
The staff of the Institute of Geography and Water Security have been studying the Ile River and Lake Balkhash for decades. Back in the 80s of the last century, they calculated that the water level in the lake should not drop below 341 meters as per the Baltic system. Otherwise, it will repeat the fate of the Aral Sea. Over the past 3 years, its water level has dropped from 342.5 meters by 80 centimeters, with the underlying drivers apparently not limited by the vagaries of weather.
Ал енді мына біздің оңтүстіктегі, оңтүстік-шығыстағы биік таулы аймақтарда
The high water cycle began in 1987 and continues to this day.
жылдардан бері жалғасып келе жатқан
The ice reserves that have accumulated in the mountains of southeastern Kazakhstan are still sufficient, although declining.
әрине ұзақ мерзімді
In 2008-2009, there was a slight decrease in water availability.
жылдар байқалады. Ол мына
Such short-term low water periods do occur periodically.
осы соңғы 2 жылда да
In
байқалды.
2013-2014 and in 2020-2021, there was also a slight runoff drop.
Айту қиын. Соған
But the reason for it wasn't the depletion of ice reserves in the mountains.
ал кезеңге келетін болсақ, асуы кезең орнай қойған.
A real low water period has not yet started.
Биік таулы аймақтардағы
It will come after the mountains run out of the ice they have been accumulating for centuries.
су қорларының әлі де әжептәуір екенін көрсетеді.
Scientists have been proposing different hypotheses of what will happen to the planet's arid regions in 20 years. But for now, it is necessary to use the available water as economically as possible. In any case, there won't be more of it. To begin with, the functional responsibilities of Kazhydromet as the national operator of water resource monitoring include water content forecasting for each river basin. Upon receiving these forecasted estimates, the Ministry of Agriculture should plan and react accordingly. If you know in advance that a low water year is coming, our farming sector has to adapt to it. For instance, rejecting moisture-intensive crops so that everyone gets enough water. President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev instructed the Ministry of Ecology, Geology and Natural Resources to carefully consider all aspects of the national water security while devising water management programs.
Балхашқа қауіп үлкен. Ол қауіп
Still, the threat to Balkhash is real, and it is associated not only with natural low water cycles, but also with irrational water use. Water consumption and allocation should be based on accurate scientific forecasting. The methods of annual basin water allocation planning are in place, but not always used in practice.
нәтижесінде
As a result, the same farmers suffer losses. Agrarians should plan their crop plots in advance, knowing how much water is available in this or that specific area. Water resources should be fairly divided among all consumers. Nobody should have the right to take more water than the estimated norm.
кемшіліктер.
Let's get back to our journey though.
За последние годы сокращается площадь.
In recent years, the area of floodplain Tugay Woods has been shrinking. Earlier, such poplar groves used to stretch for hundreds of kilometers almost down to Balkhash. Today, the town of Kunayev has led to ecological and economic changes. Fires, of course, are a big concern also. Well, looks like a great place for a stopover.
Вот, кстати, на
We
таких-
are on a deserted island, gentlemen, a true heaven for boars.
Прямо я вообще в шоке. Знаешь, если внимательно вот эти
You know, carefully examining such cliffs, you can find some paleontological artifacts.
атайки.
Look at these shell ducks. They are screaming so viciously. The Ile barberry is a delicacy not only for pheasants and boars, but for humans as well.
Компот будем?
Let's make some delicious compote.
Вкусный. Вот здесь сразу и
We have Asiatic or desert poplar and jida or narrow-leaved oleaster here, and some Ile barberry. A rafting hike is nothing without fishing, right? Every self-respecting water tourist must catch at least one fish. It's great kayaking in nice weather, but if a storm breaks suddenly, the journey turns into a real survival tour. Nowadays, weather forecasts are quite accurate, with some exceptions, of course. Well, here comes the western wind.
тростника и деревьев в лесу выбрали. Булжан, мы сегодня будем осваивать
Baljan, tonight we will be mastering the honorary profession of a food TikTok blogger.
леща. Во время
The theme of today's lesson, frying bream during a storm. We will need the following ingredients: a bream, a storm, a river, a gas burner, a frying pan, a pinch of salt, a little flour, and the proper mood. Any storm ends sooner or later.
Вот этот вот автомобильный мост построили 12 лет
They
тому.
built this road bridge 12 years ago.
Участки Алматы.
It is an important pass in the Almaty-Korgos section.
Сейчас по нему, конечно, легко
We
проехать.
can only guess how they crossed rivers 2,000 years ago.
Тут можно
Perhaps
только
on boats and driving horses swimming.
лошадей вплавь перегоняли. Ну или
The Ile River was once quite a serious obstacle on the Great Silk Way, but even back then the ancient caravanners somehow overcame it. It looks like we are becoming popular. Two fellow travelers are already trying to join us. Unfortunately, our kayak is no Noah's Ark. The place where the Ile River flows into the Kapshigai Reservoir has become shallow. We can hardly believe that once loaded barges roamed here. The wind is rising again, and we need to urgently get ashore.
Ну, похоже, господа наши.
It seems, gentlemen, our expedition is ending ahead of schedule. The forecast is giving me bad weather, with rain turning into snow.
Снег. В общем,
What should we do? Weather is always like that, but we have still accomplished our main task. We have come to our beloved Ile River again, and we sincerely hope that she will please the eyes of other travelers both in 100 and in 200 years.